Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today I want to give you a quick look at the Keen Ranger PT trail camera. And before I dive into the review, I want to say a big thank you to the EIOT Club SIM card company. I'm not sure you say, is it EIOTIC? 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 The EIOT Club company. And what it is they actually provided this camera as well as one of their data plans for review. That company provides data plans and SIM cards for devices like this one that don't need a voice connection like a cell phone would, but just simply need a data connection to a cell phone network. And that's exactly what they do. And again, I'll mention more about them in a few minutes. Now, my review of the Keen Ranger PT trail camera is going to really build on a previous video I made. It's not really going to be a full in-depth deep dive into this camera because I've really covered most of the features of this camera in a previous video when I reviewed the Reolink Go PT Plus. And really what this Keen camera is, it is actually made by a Reolink, and it is pretty much the exact same camera with a few very minor differences. And so what I would really encourage you to do is go back and watch that video, because many of the pros and cons that I gave for the Reolink Go PT Plus in that video are going to hold true for this camera as well. Now, just in case you really don't want to go back and watch that video, I'm going to try to give you the brief and broad overview really quickly to kind of bring you up to speed. Both the Reolink Go PT Plus and the Keen Ranger PT, both are cameras that have a cellular connection, as I already mentioned, but more importantly, really the key feature is that from an app on your phone, you can control the pan and tilt of the camera. So you're not locked into hanging a camera out into the woods and then being fixed in that position. You can actually control right, left, up, and down from your phone, and even in live real time with only a slight delay, you can move that camera around. It's really, really cool. And again, in the previous video, I show you exactly how to do that from your phone. Now, it's a really awesome feature because maybe deer are moving and you want to look at them, or maybe you realize that most of the deer are just off to the side somewhere and you can move that camera around. It is really quite an awesome feature, and it's one of the biggest selling points to this style of camera. Now, another big selling point is that if you buy it as a bundle, you do get a solar panel, and I've been using this camera as well as the Reolink Go camera with no issues on battery life. The sun with the solar panel really does keep this charged really nicely, and I've got no problems with battery life at all. Now, another big feature here is that you can actually watch the video feed live. You're not only bound to just maybe a camera sending you a photo or video now and then, but at any time you can actually open the live stream and see what's going on in front of the camera. Maybe if you feel like maybe animals are going too far away and you're not sure if it's being triggered or not, or maybe you get a notification on your phone that there's an animal in front of it, well, you can actually open that up and watch in real live time. And so there are some really awesome features to these cameras, but there's also a number of big cons as well. And again, I really hope you go watch the other video because I go way more into depth in all these pros and cons and others as well in that first video. But one of the things that I really had trouble with the Reolink Go PT Plus was that the entire body of the camera and the entire back and case of the solar panel, the whole mounting system, everything was white. And I really found more than I expected that white color was spooking animals. Deer were acting all skittish and spooked around it. And so I recommended in that video that if you were interested in this kind of camera, that you look into something with a camo pattern. And so when I had the opportunity to test out the Keen camera, I jumped on it because that's exactly what this is. And you can probably see even on camera, this camera blends into the background way better. And I've had this out in the woods now for a couple months, and I have not noticed any animals getting spooked by it at all. Now, another one of the cons that I had with the Reolink Go PT Plus is that I had a lot of trouble at times getting it to actually load the videos or the live stream from my phone. I would get errors, it would load really slowly at times. And so I was really interested to not only try a different camera, but also to try a different cell phone provider. You may remember the cell phone provider or the data provider for that first video was a company called FlexiBoom. And this time we're working with a company called EIOT Club Data Provider. And so I was really interested to see if there'd be any difference. And I have to admit that it's a bit subjective, but overall, I do feel like this system worked a lot better. Is it the camera? Is it the service provider? I would be inclined to think it's probably the service provider. I don't think there's any issues with the old camera, but it's really hard to tell. But overall, I felt like the videos did load faster and I had less times when it actually failed on me completely. Now, I can't say that it never failed or it never loaded slowly, because it still did, but it was a lot less frustrating overall, and I felt like those videos loaded a lot quicker and a lot less times of failing to load. So that probably has less to do with the camera, as I mentioned, than it is to do with the service provider. Now, in the original video, I also mentioned that there's not a good way to strap these two items to the tree. There is a way to strap the camera to the tree, but not so much the solar panel. And so with both of these cameras, that part is exactly the same. And I've had to mount both of them to a board and use a ratchet strap to strap them to the tree so that it could be public land legal, or even on private land, I'm not putting a bunch of screws into the tree. So that's pretty much the same as the Reolink Go PT Plus. Now, there is one other thing I mentioned that's going to be true about both of these cameras, and that is that there is a lot of cord here between the camera and the solar panel. And I've got it all bunched up here and all wrapped up, but it is probably a good 10 or 15 feet of cord. Now, something that happened to me with the Reolink Go camera after I made that initial review was twice I had animals come along and eat this cord. I believe they may have been fishers or some sort of rodent, but twice it happened. Once I tried soldering it back together. I actually bought a new panel to replace, which fortunately the panels themselves are not that expensive. I bought a new panel and I bought it in black. That way we don't have to worry about the white color. And shortly after that, the animals chewed through it a second time, and I've had to try to solder that back together. Now, fortunately, with this new camera, they have not chewed through the cord yet. However, that is a really huge con to me that's going to transfer from both this camera and the Reolink Go PT Plus. I've tried to sort of cover up the wire the best I could with some plastic coating, or cover them in a way that would maybe discourage an animal from actually eating that wire. But that's a big, big con to me. And really, having the solar panel is essential for this system to work properly. If you just only depend on the battery, you're gonna have to be bringing that camera in out of the woods and recharging it on a really frequent basis. And so for me, this is one of the big cons of the camera. All right, so in this part of the video, I want to take a break from talking about the Keen Ranger PT trail camera, and I actually want to transition to talking about the service that's provided from EIOT Club and their data service. Now, if you're wondering why I'm in a different location and a different outfit than I was for the video so far, it's because I recorded this video months ago and I just haven't had time to edit the video and get it posted. And so today I had some time to edit, and I realized that I accidentally gave some inaccurate information in the original recording, and I thought rather than trying to correct that, I would just redo this part of the video, and we'll go back to sort of the original video at the end. One of the things that I wanted to address about the service is the cost of this data service. And it's a little confusing, and this was sort of the cause of some of my inaccuracies in my original take, is that it's a little confusing. There are different pricing and different plans on their website. So you go to their website, and the first thing you're gonna see is you're gonna see a triple network plan, a double network plan, and then a Europe and UK plan. Now, in those triple and double plans, the triple plan includes T-Mobile, AT&T, and also Verizon, and the double plan is AT&T and T-Mobile. And so those are the access to the networks that I guess you're getting with that particular SIM card. Now, the triple plan is more expensive than the double plan, but then also if you go down and you say shop by device, you can actually find a trail camera specific plan. So I'm going to give you the pricing first for the trail camera specific plan, and then I'll tell you about the double plan as well. So on the trail camera specific plan, if you want a 30-day trial, you only get 100 megabytes of data. Not a whole lot of data, but it's enough to see if it works in your area and see if you're going to like it. That's $6 for that 30-day trial. If you want a longer plan, there really isn't, that I saw today, a 1-month plan. Under the trail camera specific plan, you really are only going to get it in 1-year increments. And you can either get a 3.5 gigabyte plan or a 7 gigabyte plan. 3.5 gigabytes for 1 year is $75. And a 7 gigabyte plan for a year is $100. That $100 for a year works out to be about $8.33 per month, which is really comparable with what I found on several other trail cameras. I found that to be reasonable, and it's even pretty comparable with what I believe the other service provider that I've tested out in the past, very similar to their plan. Now, the difference is you're getting a little bit less data here than with some other providers. However, you are getting more data here than you would get with some trail cameras that I've used in the past that you're paying $8 a month and you're only getting images, you're not even getting videos. And so I think this kind of finds a delicate balance. The price is reasonable, but you're getting a little bit less data than some, more data than others. It's going to handle videos. And so you're going to have to decide for yourself whether that is a good buy or not. Personally, I wish it included a little bit more data. The service that I've tested in the past included 2 gigabytes per month for a very similar price, which is 24 gigabytes per year. That's over 3 times the amount of data you're getting. Now, I don't have enough sort of data collected myself yet to know if that's really gonna be enough data for an entire year. I think in the off months it'd be plenty, but you're probably gonna make up for it in those hunting season months when you're really checking your trail cameras a lot. Now, the other option here is go to the double network plan. And on the double network plan, there's a $5 trial. Again, a very small amount, I think it's 100 megabytes that you get with that trial. But they also do have 30-day plans, and you get 2 gigabytes, like I mentioned before, but it's $15 a month. That's fairly significant amount of money to get 2 gigabytes of data. However, on this 2-network plan, there's a 24 gigabyte plan that's good for 365 days. So that's 2 gigabytes per month, and it's $109. So it's only $10 more than the trail camera specific plan, but you're getting more than 3 times the amount of data. So I think it would probably be worth checking out this double network plan. If you want to go to the triple network plan, if you have to have Verizon, you could do that, but that plan was significantly more expensive. Personally, I would recommend checking out either the trail camera specific plan or the double network plan. Now, here's the thing about the service so far. It is a little bit more expensive than the service that I've tested in the past. However, it's a bit of a trade-off because I feel like this service has been a little bit more reliable. It's been a little bit quicker to load files and load those videos on my device. And so overall, I think it's sort of a toss-up, but I think this EIOT Club service is something that really is worth your consideration. I think the price is reasonable if the data is enough for you. And I have found it to be a little bit more reliable, at least in my area. Your mileage may vary. Now let's jump back and we'll talk about my final thoughts on the camera as well as the service. Now let me wrap up this video by giving you sort of my final conclusions on both the Keen Ranger PT as well as the Reolink Go PT Plus. Now, both of these cameras have some really unique features that make them very attractive. The 2 biggest features, in my opinion, are the ability to control the pan and tilt from your phone, as well as the ability to log in at any time and see a live stream from that device, not just a video that was captured and sent to your phone when something triggered the camera. And so those are 2 really big advantages. Of course, coming with the solar panel and never having to worry about batteries is also a great positive as well. However, I really think that these cameras are designed for and better suited to be used in a security camera application. I think what happened here is Reolink decided to sort of broaden their horizons and see if they could reach a larger audience, and so they slapped a camo pattern on the Reolink Go PT Plus and called it a trail camera. And really, I think there's a couple reasons why that may not be true, and one of the big reasons is the fact that this wire is not sealed up. It just is not uncommon for animals to want to mess with your trail camera. When you have something as delicate as a wire that could be chewed through this easily, it just really makes me feel like it's not suited for the harsh reality that is the outdoor woods where there's animals and critters that are going to mess with your trail camera. And so I think that's a really, really big con, because buying these is going to get expensive after a while, or it's going to get frustrating to have to resolder those cables over and over again. Now, another thing here is that while the pan tilt functionality is really cool and it's fun to play with, I find myself almost never using it. The truth is, I've set up a lot of trail cameras and I have a pretty good idea of where I want it to point, and I set it up that way, point it that way, and I leave it. Now, I have on occasion seen deer trigger the camera and I want to watch where they go, and so I will use the pan tilt to sort of follow them and see which direction they're going or where they're going as far as I can before I can no longer see them because of the tree or the bushes, or they're just too far out away from the camera. But the reality is, I really don't do that often. And so when you're talking about a $250 to $300 camera, maybe give or take right around that range, depending on whether it's on sale or not, I feel like that's a lot of money to spend for some functionality that to me really hasn't been as jaw-dropping and amazing as what I expected it to be. However, if this kind of technology does appeal to you and this camera is interesting to you, then by all means, I would recommend buying the Keen Ranger PT camera over the Reolink Go camera. just because of the camo pattern, it is certainly going to blend in the woods much better and be much better suited as a trail camera. I hope you found this information helpful. If you like this review, or you like the camera, or you don't like the camera, or you don't like the review, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.